92. Students, everyone open page number 92 from your science book. In the last class, I have told you what is soil, the formation of soil, what do we find in soil, and the layers of soil. I'm quickly again telling you about the layers of soil. So how many different layers are there? The uppermost layer is known as the topsoil. The uppermost layer of soil is known as the topsoil. The trees generally grow in this layer. The uppermost layer is the top layer we walk upon. It is dark in color and rich in nutrients. The dead remains of plants and animals, they are also present in this layer of soil. And this uppermost layer of soil, it is known as the topsoil. Here is the picture that is given in your book. You can see I'm zooming in this part. And here you can see I'm just marking it from your book. See the uppermost layer, this one, where we walk, where all the plants and trees, they grow. This is the uppermost layer of the soil that is known as the topsoil. Now the next to the topsoil, the layer that is just beneath the topsoil, the second layer. This is called the subsoil. Now, the plants cannot grow on this soil, but the plants that have deep root systems, that have deep primary root systems, those roots of the plants, the roots of those plants, they can enter the subsoil. Okay. Now the third layer is this one. Third layer is called the bedrock. Third layer is the layer right beneath the subsoil or the second layer. This layer is known as the bedrock. The first part of the bedrock, here you can see it is divided into two specific parts. The first part of the bedrock, it contains small stones and pebbles, small rocks, okay? And the next part or the last layer, the last part of the bedrock, this one, it contains big stones, okay? And very less space is there. This is why it is called big stones or big rocks. This is why this particular layer is called bedrock. So it makes a bed of rocks. So this is why this layer is called the bedrock. So total, how many layers are there? Total, there are 3 layers. The topmost layer is called the topsoil. The second layer just beneath the topsoil, it is called the subsoil. And the final layer, which is made up of rocks, that is called the bedrock. So these are the 3 basic layers of soil. And I have told you in the last class also that this is a very, very important question, and you will have to practice drawing this picture. Okay, this particular diagram can come in your exam, so mark it as very, very important. Mark it as very, very important, because the question may come like this, that draw and describe different layers of soil. Draw and describe different layers of soil. Okay. Now go to the next page. Here is a true fact box you can see. Let's see what is written in this true fact box. Humus is rich in all nutrients needed for the growth of plants. So what makes the humus? I have told you before that the parts of dead plants and animals, when they die, those body parts then get mixed with the soil. And you have also learned about some microorganisms that help in this degradation process, and they are called decomposers, right? So with the help of the decomposers, the body parts of different plants and animals that have dead plants and animals, they get mixed with the soil, and all those nutrients get mixed with the soil, and it increases the amount of nutrients present in the soil, and when they finally mix with the soil, they make the humus, and it is black in color. You have already learned all these things previously, so I'm not telling it in detail. Now go to the next page. Here you can see different types of soil. So I was asking you different layers of soil at the very first, but you are giving me the answer that what are the different types of soil. So here is the difference between the layers of soil and the types of soil. So how many different types of soils are there? Here in your book, 3 basic types of soils are explained. The details of 3 basic layers of soils are given here, though many more different types of soils are present actually, but you will have to read any 3 of them. There are 3 main types of soil. Different types of soil have different color, texture, and composition. So 3 main types of soils are, look here, sandy soil, clay soil, and loamy soil. What are sandy soils? Sandy soil contains big sand particles. The soil that contains sand particles, big sand particles, they are called the sandy soil. They are the sandy soil is very dry and rough to touch. If you touch sand particles, you will feel that they are very dry, and at the same time they are very rough also, right? Have you taken sand? Have you taken sand in your hand ever? I hope most of you have done this. So you must have, if you take hands full of sand, you must have felt that the sand is very rough, right? And it is very dry also. And the soil that is made up of sand, it doesn't hold too much water. So if you just pour water on it, all the water will be dropped by the soil. So the soil itself, it cannot hold the water. Very few plants grow in this type of soil. Naturally, if the soil cannot hold water, plants will not be able to make their food if there is no water. So the soil that cannot hold the water, plants cannot grow there. The soil is found in deserts, river banks, and seashores. So in seashores, you must have seen that the soil is the sandy soil, and the river banks and deserts also. There we can see the sandy soil. Asif Mullah, you sit properly in front of the camera. Asif Mullah, you sit properly in front of the camera. Don't move here and there during the classes. Okay. Next type of soil is clay soil. Clay soil contains very fine particles. So that makes the clay, right? You are very much familiar with the term clay. So that makes the clay. You have seen, or you have, if you have hold it in your hand, then if you hold it in your hand, you will see that clays are very soft, right? So clay soil contains very fine particles. It is sticky to touch and hold a lot of water. So if you pour water on clay, what will happen? It will hold the water and it will become heavy also, right? You must have noticed it. Only few plants like wheat and rice grow well in this type of soil. Why? Because if water is not present in the soil, plants cannot grow in that kind of soil if there is no water. At the same time, if there is too much water in any particular type of soil, in that soil also plants cannot grow, right? So this is why it is always said that in clay soil also plants cannot grow properly, because clay soil holds most of the water. There is too much water in the clay soil. And potters also use this soil for making pots and different types of idols, models. Potters use clay soil. Next one is loamy soil, which is the best type of soil. It is a mixture of sandy soil and clay soil. That means loamy soil do not hold too much of water, and it is not completely dry also. It has good air and water holding capacity, which is very good for the growth of plants. It also contains humus, which is very good for the growth of plants. That means plants grow best in loamy soil. Next topic here is soil erosion. So let's see what is soil erosion. Students, sit properly and concentrate in your class. Don't be among those, don't talk to anyone else. Concentrate. Just look at the screen or open your book. You look at the page. Look at page number 93. So next topic is soil erosion. What is soil erosion? The top layer of soil called topsoil is soft and very light. So it can be easily carried from one place to another due to the action of wind or water. As the topsoil, the uppermost layer of soil is called the topsoil. You have just learned it. So as the topsoil is very light and soft, So it can easily be carried out by the wind or the water. Very easily from one place to another it can be carried. This results in the removal of topsoil. The removal of topsoil by the action of wind or water, it is called the soil erosion. When by the action of wind or water, the topsoil is removed from one particular place to another place, that is called the soil erosion. The amount of soil removed by soil erosion is balanced by the amount of soil it is formed in nature. So naturally, always some amount of soil is removed from one place, but at the same time, some amount of soil is produced. So this is balanced in our nature by some natural processes. But due to some human activities, this removal of topsoil is faster. Suppose for making buildings, for making for using for agriculture, we are digging holes continuously, and this is how we are damaging the topsoil. And you all know that it takes time for the making of soil, for the formation of soil. You have learned it in this chapter previously. So if we start digging holes and we start damaging the topsoil continuously, then it results in soil erosion. To control the soil erosion, and soil erosion can cause severe damages to our nature and to our lives also. They may cause some natural calamities, okay, like flood and sometimes earthquake also, and plants will also fall off and they will also die one by one. If the topsoil is very much damaged due to soil erosion, so many different types of difficulties we will have to face. So we must control it. We must control the soil erosion. To control it, we must take some steps. So the only way to control the soil erosion is soil conservation. We will have to conserve the soil. We will have to stop the soil erosion. We will have to stop cutting down trees. We will have to stop digging holes everywhere. So we will have to conserve it. What is soil conservation? The protection of soil from erosion. What I have just told you, that is the soil conservation. We should follow some simple steps how we can conserve the soil, how we can stop the soil erosion, how we can stop the damage of soil by human activities. There are some steps that are described in your book. The first step that is given here is planting more and more trees. You all know that the roots of the trees bind the soil firmly. All the trees, they stand erect, they stand straight on the ground because they can bind the soil firmly together, and they do not allow it to be easily washed or blown away. Therefore, we must plant more and more trees. If we plant more and more trees, then they will hold the soil very tightly, very firmly, and there will be less soil erosion. Now go to the next. And another process and another way by which we can conserve the soil, and that process is constructing dams. By constructing dam, we can prevent flood. Right? Flood means what? When the water, there is too much water. Sometimes it happens due to rainfall, too much rainfall. Okay, so when there is maximum amount of water, the layer of water in the rivers, they reach the maximum level. The rivers overflow. Where will that extra water go? The extra water will overflow to the areas of the river bank, or to the river bank, or all the areas that are near to the river bank. Okay, and that water from flood, that water can also wash the topsoil, and they can also cause the soil erosion. So we can construct dams. Flood is one of the main causes of soil erosion. We should construct dams at places where the river strikes against the banks to control the flow of water. And hence we can also control the flood. Here you can see that how dams are made at the river banks, so that You can see they are like huge walls, so that the extra water from the river, they cannot get overflow and they cannot come to the nearby areas. So we can prevent flood, and at the same time we can prevent soil erosion also. If there will be no flood, then no water will be there to wash the topsoil away. So we can prevent the soil erosion. At the same time, we can prevent the flood by making river dams or by constructing the dams. The last process, the soil or protecting the soil from soil erosion, is terrace farming. People living in hills, you have learned it in your SST also, right? Terrace farming, people living on hills, they make terrace farming, they make terraces along the slopes of the hills. I have told you that as the mountains are like this, there are slopes in the mountains. So if the water will fall on the mountain top, what will happen? The water will come down at a very high speed. And due to that high speed, what will happen? As the water that is coming down at a very high speed, so the water will also wash away all the topsoil with it. So we need to stop, we need to reduce the speed of the water. How we can reduce the speed of the water? By cutting down some particular areas. So how we will cut it down? So suppose this is the mountain, we will cut it down like this. That means we will make terraces. Like this. So as the terrace will be made along the slopes of the mountains to grow the crops. So what will happen? When the water will drop to the downward direction, it will be stopped by one slope. And then when it will be stopped, the speed of the water will decrease. Then again, it will go to the next terrace. It will go to the next broken part or the next part of the terrace. Then the water will again be, the speed of the water will again be reduced. And this is how many steps will be made in the mountains. The more the steps will be, the less the speed of the water will be. And this is how the water will not be able to wash much more topsoil with it. This is how also we can stop soil erosion by the water in the mountain areas. This type of farming, and in this way, water can also be stored in different parts of the mountain. We can use the water for for growing more and more crops. This type of farming is also known as terrace farming. You have learned it in details in SST, right? The same thing. So I'm not going for the details, but you know what is terrace farming. When we cut down the slopes of the mountains, we make terraces to grow more and more crops. How we will be able to grow more and more crops? Because if we cut the slopes, then we will be able to store the water that we will need to grow the crops there. And at the same time, it will reduce the speed of the water that is falling from the top of the mountain to the downward direction. This is how it will also prevent soil erosion. This type of farming is known as terrace farming. And at the end here, you can see lesson in short, this part. So many important topics are just written in one line. You can see that all the topics that you have learned in this chapter, they are written in one line here. This part is also very important for short type questions that will come in your exam. So do not skip this part, read this part also. Now we have completed the reading of this chapter. Students, I'm giving you 1 minute now. You just go through the chapter. If any doubt is there, you can raise your hand. I will talk to you now, and after that, we will start the exercise. Okay? But before that, I will clear all your doubts. So read this chapter. I'm giving you 1 minute. Just go through all the topics. If you have any doubt, you can tell me that right now. Okay? So read it now. I'm giving you